Hi everybody, it's Tox from CritsHappen.com. Thanks for watching and welcome back. We are here with NinjaZach, our special guest this week, and we're going to be doing a new crit list. This week's crit list is perfect for our guest because it's all about how to teach your kids or younger gamers about board gaming. So the world of designer board games is filled with multiple great games. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine the other day about how there are so many good games inside of board gaming right now. I mean, just us, think about how many we play, right? We play a lot. Well, we play more than the average bear, right? Because of what Daddy does. But we play, let's see, what do we play lately? We play Legendary. Dead Panic. We play Castle Panic. We play Rampage. We play Mage Wars. We play Lords of Waterdeep. We play Dixit. There's a lot we play, right?
Mice and Mystics.
Mice and Mystics is a big one we play. There's a lot, right? And just thinking about just those games, there's a lot of different games there, right? You have Rampage, which is pretty easy, right? What do you do in Rampage?
Oh, well, you have to destroy all the buildings and then count up your points, and then whoever has the most points, you win. And
it's just throwing monsters, right? You're just throwing wood all over the place.
Yeah,
it's just, there's no strategy to it, really. It's just dropping things and blowing things up. But then you look at a game like Mice and Mystics, and what do we do in Mice and Mystics? We have to work together, right?
Yeah.
We all have to work together in a story, and we have to proceed in that story, but we have to win. We can't just keep jumping ahead. We have to work together, very much like Descent, right?
Guys.
Yeah, it's Mice and Mystics has always reminded me of Descent a little bit more story driven. You have your characters, you get weapons, you get upgrades, things like that. And then you even mentioned Mage Wars, which we'll talk about briefly. But I mean, you just learned Mage Wars. Mage Wars is pretty complex, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complex for a young kid. It's a lot to take in, but you're enjoying it. You're doing okay. You've played a couple of games. You've done all right. But all of that aside, it's not that easy to just jump into a new game, right? You have to learn a new game. You have to understand the rules. You have to figure things out. And sometimes that's hard just for us adults, let alone for kids. And it's even harder sometimes to learn it as adults and then transfer it to little kids. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what I did to help bring NinjaZach into board gaming, looking at what I think are the top 3 things that helped me bring him into board gaming that could help you with your kids or other young gamers that you have in your game group. So let's start off with number 3.
Know their strength.
Number 3 is know their strength. That's right. Number 3 is all about understanding your kids. You are a builder. Without a doubt, you're a builder. You're also a kid who likes to run and scrape. We haven't talked about that. His little scrape hair on his nose came from Boy Scouts the other night. We were running around in a parking lot shooting off water bottle rockets, and somebody fell down and hurt themselves a little bit. But he's a tough kid, so he did all right. But you are a builder. You love building things. You love science. You love construction. You love Legos. You like to build things. So one of the things that I thought to myself when I was introducing Zach into games was what games allowed that building mechanic that he could identify with. And ironically, one of the bigger games we introduced you to was Lords of Waterdeep. And you really like that because it doesn't have a necessarily, well, it has a building mechanic because you build buildings, right? Yeah, you get to build those. But the bigger thing was we taught him about building an engine. We taught him about how you can complete one quest, which will get you a reward, which will help you complete another quest, which will help you complete another reward, and it just keeps going on and on from there. So we taught him all about engine building or chain building. And he really liked that, right? You love Lords of Waterdeep.
Yep.
You've gotten kind of cutthroat at it too.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun to watch. But there's a lot of different things out there that can offer you game mechanics that play to the strength of your child. Maybe you have a child who is very imaginative and they have a very broad imagination. Something like Dixit would be absolutely phenomenal of a game to introduce to them. Or maybe you have a child who is mathematical, like you like science and mathematics and stuff like that. There's a lot of games that offer really good math. There's a lot of deck building games that are very simple that offer really good math. Star Realms is a good one. What's your favorite deck building game?
DC Comics.
The DC Comics deck building game. That's a lot of fun because you get to be Batman, you get to be Superman. You like being Superman.
Yeah.
And it's an easy game to teach mathematics because there's really only one one resource, right? You have power, and that's it.
Yeah.
You just keep adding up power. In some people's cases, you add up a lot of power.
Yeah, like me.
172. He's got 172 power in one turn, which is absolutely ridiculous. Let's see, you did it. What was it you did? You did Man of Steel, because you had Superman as your hero.
Yeah.
You did Man of Steel,
Yes.
the card Man of Steel, which lets you pull all of your superpowers out of your discard pile into play. You had 32 superpowers. It was ridiculous how many superpowers you had in your graveyard or in your discard pile. And then you had Parallax, and it was just boom, 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 boom. Oh, I'll take everything and win the game. And it was pretty amazing. But that's a great game to teach from mathematics. From science, what's one of your favorite scientific games? Compounded? Compounded, yeah. Compounded has a great scientific theme, and it's just a set building or a set collection mechanic, but it is great if you have a little science geek in your house as well. But ultimately, knowing your child's strength is going to make it much more familiar for them when they sit down to play a game and they look at something that may not be the exact theme match. Like, you don't necessarily have to have Compounded to teach, a scientific kid about games. But they may see something in there, like with you, with Lords of Waterdeep, you saw building those chains and going from piece to piece to piece and how that worked out. And it worked really well. And then from there it took off. So know their strengths is definitely number 3. All right, number 2. Do you remember what number 2 is? Begins with a P.
Patience.
Patience. Number 2 is definitely patience. Because even though you may know your child's strength, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to go smoothly. In fact, pretty much pick for everything to go wrong the first time you introduce your kid to a game, and you'll be perfectly fine. But you have to be patient. You are how old right now?
8.
You're about to be 9 in a few
in
short
August.
weeks. But at 6 years old, I think 6? Was it 5 or 6? It was 5 or 6. I can't remember which. I want to say 6. I think 6 was when we introduced Zach to his first real designer type board game. And it didn't go very well. So we had to take some patience and do it again. And it took several times, but over the course of time, it slowly started to sink in. And he started to evolve. He went from small games to bigger games. He went from small card games to big, giant games, like we were talking before about Mage Wars and Mice and Mystics and Descent. You love Descent. But it takes time. And to do that, you have to be patient. You have to understand that the kids are going to ask a lot of questions, tons of questions that you think are common knowledge because you have played games for so long. Like if you're like me, I've played since I was 10, 11 years old, almost his age. And now I'm something years old. So I'm kind of older. And I just take things for granted, right? I look at things and go, well, that's what it does. And I don't think anyone should ask a question about it. But kids are going to ask questions, right? You like to ask questions, lots of questions. So that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Just make sure you're patient with them, you answer their questions, and you help them get down the road. Patience is a very, very big thing. It's a hard thing, but it's a good thing. Now we're on to number 1. What is number 1?
Let them play their own way.
Let them play their own way. This is probably the most important aspect of teaching your kids games. How I play Legendary is completely different from how he plays Legendary. How I play Descent is completely different from how he plays Descent. And that is okay. That's what makes gaming so much fun, right? We can play in different ways and still get to an objective that we need to get or win if, implementing different strategies.
Yeah.
That is one of the most important things because you are going to play games the way you see everything coming together. I could teach you everything about Lords of Waterdeep, but you're the one that's going to put it all together into the chain you want to play, right? And that's key because I find a lot of times when I'm playing games with just adults, I really look at them and go, well, why are you doing that? Why would you play this way? Or why are you choosing that card? Or why are you choosing that action? And you really need to put that part of you in check when you're teaching little kids because they're going to find their own ways. And I'll tell you, one of the most fun times in board gaming I ever had was with your sister, actually. NinjaZach has an older sister who used to play miniatures games. And we were playing a miniatures game once, and I'm like, why did you put those 3 people together? They're not compatible, they're not going to work. And she's like, no, I got a plan. And it worked. She kicked my butt because I didn't see the combination that she was putting together. But once she enacted the strategy, it was clear as day. And unfortunately for me, it was the end of the day because I lost. But it was a great opportunity for me to learn to look at something a little differently. And kids can do that. I mean, kids are filled with imagination, right? Yeah. You see things in a totally different light, in a totally different way, and it's really cool. And as long as you're open, as long as you play to their strengths, and as long as you're patient with them and let them play their way, you can see all of that come out. So number one is definitely let them play their own way. So let's run them down again real quick. We have play to their strengths or know their strengths so that you're playing games that are familiar. You have patience, which we all have to have. You have to have it, I have to have it, we all have to have it. And then number one is let them play their own way. So let them discover the world, let them involve themselves in the world, let them get as engrossed as they want to, and we're gonna end up having a lot of fun, right? Mm-hmm. You love playing board games, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you like sticking your tongue out the camera too? Well, I think that's about all the time I can have with him in front of the camera, or else he's going to get real antsy and run away because he wants to go play. So for right now, that's it for this episode of the Crit List. So thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope that it helps you. In the meantime, feel free to leave your comments below on the YouTube channel. You can, of course, find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus by searching Crits Happen, or at our homepage at critshappen.com. But until we see you next time, thanks for watching. Keep rolling those dice.
We hope they're all crits.
Do you have anything silly to say?
Yeah.
What do you want to say? It's silly.
Run away!
Run away! We're done!